Good evening to all the friends of Israel here tonight. Great to be with you. Thank you, Josh Reinstein, Director of Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, for that kind introduction and for all you're doing here and in Israel. It is my honor to join you at tonight's program. Heinz Ross, Ann Jobst, and Charlotte Bittner, thank you very much for welcoming me from Israel and for your leadership of this incredible organization. Thank you, Yigal Evan-Ziv, for your preparation. Thank you, Udi. Thank you, Stella, and all the friends here. It's my privilege. Many of my colleagues and friends, current and former MKs from the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, have had the privilege of attending March of Life events throughout Europe and have shared with me about their experiences. I have also had the privilege to visit the March of Life Museum yesterday, as Josh was saying, so that I can have a better understanding of your mission and activities. These experiences have moved me deeply. Your commitment to ensure that the memory of the Holocaust is not forgotten is something very important to me as an Israeli Knesset member and personally as a Jew. Now, just imagine, 102 years ago, my grandfather, Moshe Yehuda, who I'm called on his name, went out in a cold evening in Warsaw when suddenly he sees a Polish soldier beating up, hitting an old Jewish person, bearded, with the clothes and everything. And he stands there. He was I'm much taller than he was, so I'm told that I never met him. And he looks, and he stands, and he has this dilemma. Just imagine, really interrupt, really fight for the Jew, or maybe he should go on his way, like many did. And he made the decision 102 years ago. And he barged in, like Moshe Rabbeinu, 3,300 years before him. And he beat the Polish soldier. And then he saved the Jew, and he had to run for his life. So he ran through Germany, came to England, met my grandmother, built a family, and that's mainly the reason I'm here today, because all the rest of the family who were left in Warsaw, in Poland, were killed during the Holocaust. This is my personal Moshe Yehuda, Moshe Rabbeinu story of how I am here today. When we talk about the Holocaust commemoration, it is important we not only mourn the deaths of those million killed, but we use their suffering as a reminder that we must do better. That attacks against the Jews throughout the 1940s happened because the majority of observers were silent. They were too afraid to speak up for the truth, for morality, and for justice. Today we must speak up wherever and whenever and wherever we see antisemitism, whether that comes in form of persecution against Jewish people or against the one and only Jewish state. Maybe let's do something together. If you may, for a few seconds, close your eyes for a second, like I'm doing, okay? And imagine yourself in Warsaw 102 years ago, like my grandfather, Moshe Yehuda. You know, it's quite cold outside with your jacket, and suddenly you see the same picture of the soldier, the Polish soldier, and he's beating up someone. And you move a few steps ahead, and you see this is an old Jew. Now, again, with your mind, 3,300 years ago, join Moshe Rabbeinu. More or less the same age, 20-something maybe. He's walking in the streets of some city in Egypt, and he sees an Egyptian soldier. And he's beating up who? A Jewish person. Open your eyes now. Would we stand there? Would we be the people we're talking about that would step in, fight, rescue the Jew, but also maybe give our lives for that? That's the story. That's the thing we're talking about these days. The fact that you have gathered representatives from over 15, I think 17 nations in tonight's program to dream together about a better future without anti-Semitism and without Jew hatred is a wonderful accomplishment. You are able to unite individual leaders and to turn them into a broad movement which has tremendous power to stem the tide of anti-Semitism and to make a true impact on the future. As a member of the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, it is important for me to strengthen the relationship between the Knesset and Christian leaders around the world. And that is what brings me here tonight. You are all heroic leaders, and I came from Israel to send you my blessings and gratitude to all of that you do for the Jewish people and our homeland. I want a set of applause for you. So let's give a set of applause. Since time of Abraham, the Jewish people have been committed to living a life of charity and justice in the land which God designated to them, to be a light unto the nations and make an impact on the greater world. And since day one, they have been enemies of the Jewish people who have tried to erase our nation, to deny our right to exist and our right to a homeland, and to spread hatred and lies about us. Today, with the flourishing and modern state of Israel, we have shown that we still heed to the vision of our forefathers. We have created the only democracy in the Middle East, a shining light in a very dark region. We have used this blessing not only to develop the homeland of the Jewish people, but also a heaven of safety for the minorities who live among us. I want to share a moment of my own with you. I served as a commander in the Israeli IDF. I was a battalion commander of paratroopers, and we were fighting in the Gaza Strip. And this is night, and we're fighting from terrorists' house one to another. And I'm with my soldiers, about 500 of them, and suddenly I see a missile just above my head. And it's shot from somewhere in the Gaza Strip, and there's another one, and it's hitting somewhere, it's landing somewhere in Israel, killing women, children, innocent people who all they did is be Jews and live in Israel. That's our story. And I remember saying to myself, recognizing this is why I'm putting my life at risk. This is why I'm fighting. I'm fighting for our people. Now, as a matter of fact, that missile hit a Bedouin village that night, and a Bedouin family was killed. But it doesn't make any difference because these are human beings living between us. They're under our responsibility. We mourn the same for each person that is killed, Jew, Arab, or other. And that was my story. And that night I told my soldiers, listen, this is why we are here, to save lives of innocent people. This is why we are rescuing people. This is why we are putting our lives. At that moment, I realized that we can now truly say, never again, with confidence. We will never allow the blood of the Jewish people to flow freely. We will protect our homeland with all our might, but we cannot do this alone. We can only be successful if we have the true partnership of the international community. I sincerely thank the March of Life organization for helping to cultivate the global voice against anti-Semitism. I know that you make extensive efforts to both honor survivors and share their experiences at your evening. This is more important than ever as the numbers of Holocaust survivors continues to decrease. We must pay careful attention to these stories and testimonies and pledge to internalize the message, to carry on the legacies of bravery, of justice, and of commitment to stand by the Jewish people. As an MK in the Yesh Atid party, we actually this year added a huge budget to Israeli survivors Holocaust survivors in order to help them, and yet we know even we cannot do it all on our own. What's even incredible is that you invite descendants of Nazi perpetrators to walk hand in hand with Holocaust survivors. With anti-Semitism on the rise, it is essential that these individuals come to terms with their family history and publicly denounce their atrocities that were committed against the Jewish people and commit to never stand by while the Jewish community is under attack. The scenes that we are seeing today of anti-Semitic attacks against Jews, swastikas, painted Jewish businesses, Jews beaten in the streets, is something we hoped would never happen again. Not only are the scenes of the 1940s repeating themselves, but the target has now expanded to include the State of Israel, its citizens, and its companies. When you march through the streets of Europe, proudly waving your Israeli flags, you are sending an important message to your communities that you stand with Israel and with the Jewish people. I would like to send you all my blessings for very successful marches and programs this year as you commemorate the uprising of the Warsaw Ghetto and embody your own uprising against anti-Semitism through your events. And of course, I really look forward after this evening, seeing you all in Jerusalem and joining you in the March of the Nations later this year. Thank you again for inviting me here tonight, and thank you all for your support of Israel and the Jewish people. It says in the book of Genesis, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. You have bestowed your blessings on Israel and the Jewish people, and I believe that God will bless you together with us in return. Just before Shabbat, some of you heard me blessing my children with the blessing of the Kohanim. I would like to add this blessing to you now. I will do it in Hebrew and in English, okay? So, Yevrechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha. May the Lord bless you and reward you. May Yair Hashem panav elecha v'chuneka. May the Lord shine the countenance upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May the Lord turn his countenance toward you and grant you peace. Say together with me, peace. 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 Thank you very much. Shalom. Yevrechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha. Yair Hashem panav elecha v'chuneka. Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May the Lord turn his countenance toward you and grant you peace.